Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sara Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. Today we're playing with the Alchemy collection from our friends at Stamperia. We have a gorgeous set of 8x8 pattern papers. We have 3 rice paper designs you can see here, and a big package of 37 chipboard die cuts, and you can see these designs here. There's a lot to play with. Now I have to tell you, the Alchemy collection has probably been one of my top favorites to work with. It's just been a dream to play with these gorgeous vintage images. So I can't wait to show you what you can make with this collection. I have 5 projects plus a couple of demos to show you. So come play with us. Let's start with a simple card that combines these gorgeous papers and die cuts. Now for this card, I also added in a couple of mixed media techniques using dye-based inks and Green Lemon's opal polish. So the middle area of my card is a sheet of paper from the 8x8 set, and I think you can see, especially here, where I've splattered some watery opal polish on top. Now my card base has some direct-to-paper inking plus a little bit of opal polish on there as well. And the overall effect is creating a shimmery colored background for this sweet little owl die cut. Let's take a look at these 2 techniques. Both are really simple to do. So let's start with our background here. So actually the card base. I've got a little piece of white cardstock here that I'm going to use. And the 2 dye-based inks that I'm working with, both from Hunky Dory, the Prism line, I'm using French Navy and Thundercloud. So I'm going to start, of course, working onto my craft mat. I'm going to take the French Navy and simply press it onto the cardstock. I'm kind of twisting it a little bit as I go here, really just applying some of that rich, beautiful color. Such a pretty color. Okay, now on top of this, I'm going to do the exact same technique with the Thundercloud, and that's going to tone down a bit of this bright blue and just create a nice shading effect. So same process, just gently applying that right onto my cardstock. Okay. Now the next part of the process, before I add in my opal polish, I do want to let this dry. So I can either let it air dry, which is what I normally do, or even zap it with a heat tool for a couple of seconds and speed up that dry time. I've got a piece that is already dry though, so we can start with this. Now what I want to do is take that beautiful opal polish and mute this back, but also add some shimmer to it, because of course opal polish is going to give us a beautiful iridescent shine. Just take a look at that. And of course the reason I want that ink to be dry is because I'm working with yellow, so I don't want to contaminate my sponge with blue ink. Okay, that ink doesn't take very long to dry, by the way. So I'm just loading up my sponge applicator with a bit of the opal polish. I don't need a whole lot. You can always add more if you want. And I'm just going to go right over that blue ink and add a little touch of iridescence. And you can see the difference between the un-opal polished section and the opal polished section. I'm sure that's not grammatically correct, but I think you see what I mean. So I've got some shine on here, I've got some shimmer, beautiful iridescence, and just a really nice background for the Alchemy collection. Okay, and then all I need to do, of course, is just pop my applicator back into the top and close up my opal polish and let this dry, and I am ready to go. So I'm going to clean up my craft mat here a little bit, and then we can take a look at the second technique that I want to show you. So the center area here on this pattern paper. So again, this is also using opal polish. I'm going to move this aside and bring in a piece of that beautiful pattern paper. I just love this. Now you can apply your opal polish as we've seen with the sponge applicator, but you can also splatter it on with a distress splatter brush, which is what I've used. Again, working onto my craft mat, I'm going to open up my opal polish, and this is still the Green Lemons, and use my palette knife to take out just a bit of the medium. You don't need a whole lot. And I'm just going to place this down onto my craft mat, kind of spread it out a little bit. So you can see, really don't need a whole lot there. Okay, make sure to put the lid back on so nothing dries out. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water here. So just with my water mister. And again, using the palette knife to blend the two together. And I recommend that you use your palette knife to blend this rather than using your splatter brush. It just blends much more easily with the palette knife. You can add as much or as little water as you want. More water will, of course, make things a little easier to splatter. Okay, so I've got my nice big section here. I'm going to get my splatter brush a little bit wet and then just load up the bristles. Okay, so I'm tapping this in here. You can see about how much I've got on there. Now again, keeping everything on the craft mat, I'm going to lay my paper flat and then simply use my finger to pull those bristles back and splatter some of this beautiful medium on here. Again, as much or as little as you want. Sometimes I like to also turn the paper so that the direction of my splattering goes in different ways. And then all you need to do is let this dry. So you can see that beautiful shadow and pattern on there. Super easy to do. Be sure to pop your palette knife and your distress splatter brush in some water so that you can clean that off. And of course, I'm going to clean off my craft mat as well. And we can take another look at that card. Okay, so I'll set this aside to dry and bring in that card again, and we can take another look. So you can see here, I've just simply placed the pattern paper on top. I've inked around the edges of that also with the French navy just to give an extra bit of dimension. I have that owl die cut, a little bit of ribbon, and some script dazzles down here at the bottom. Then for my card inside, I have some of this beautiful pattern paper, a border strip of pattern paper, and then also these sweet little owls. I just love those. And again, another dazzle to finish it off. Okay, so that is our first card. Now, I have to say, I do really love these owls, and Stamperia does such a beautiful job with them. This owl focal image is a rice paper image, and I put this down on some pattern paper and then just tore around the outside edge. Again, another really simple process to do and a great way to get a nice significantly sized image as your card focal, and easy to then embellish with other elements. So let me grab a few supplies and we can take a look at how to put this together. Okay, I've gathered all of my supplies to create this beautiful rice paper focal image on my card. So I have the 4 cards sheet of rice paper designs, and I thought, why don't we do it with the key this time instead of the owl, so you can see how that looks. So I've torn out the key image from the main sheet, and to do that I've just taken a watery paintbrush around the edges and then simply tore those edges. Now I've also got a piece of pattern paper that I'm going to glue my rice paper image onto. So to do that I need to have a white acrylic glue, and I really like this one from Creative Expressions. This works beautifully. I have my water mister ready to go, and then also a paintbrush. Okay, so all I need to do is create a little puddle of watery glue, kind of like we did with the opal polish. So I'm just going to squeeze a bit of that glue right onto my craft mat and add a bit of water. And then I'm going to mix these together just to blend in a bit more of a diluted glue. Okay, so make this nice puddle here. Now, the thing that you need to consider when you're doing your gluing, so you have a fairly large piece with this rice paper. I usually suggest that instead of putting your watery glue onto your rice paper, that you put it onto the paper that you're gluing the rice paper onto. I don't know about you, but generally when I have something that is large and lightweight and gluey, that's when it will stick onto itself. So to avoid that, I really suggest using the brush to simply apply your watery glue onto your paper rather than your rice paper sheet. Smaller images may be a little bit easier, but I just find with larger pieces, it's just a bit simpler to put the glue onto your background paper. Okay, so I've got my glue on here, and then I'm going to take my rice paper piece and just place that right on top from the center, smoothing out toward the edges to make sure that you've got contact all over your piece. Okay, like so. And then what I'm going to do is come back with a little more glue and just kind of go around the edges. You don't need to cover the entire front of the piece, but you do want to go around those edges and make sure that those are secured down. Like so. Super simple to do. And you don't need a whole lot of glue either. All right, so there we have it. Now it's all adhered down. Now the next part of the process, of course, is to let this dry pretty thoroughly before you add it onto your card or do anything else with it. And it won't take very long to dry at all. A couple of minutes will do. And then after you've got that dry, what you can do is simply tear around the outside edge. And that's what I've done for my card focal. So I let a little bit of that pattern paper show around the outside edges there. Then for the rest of the card, I've added some numbers on here for a birthday. I've added a script dazzle on here. Now the numbers are from a sheet from the 8x8 pack. So you've got lots of different numbers and possible combinations on here. So you could make a birthday number for just about any age. Now the background of my card is 2 different papers from the 8x8 set. Just layered those together and then inked around the outside edge with some thundercloud ink. And then for my card inside, I've got a little bit more rice paper here. And then I've also got some images from the numbers sheet, and then again some more dazzles as the message on here. Okay, so a great one for your rice paper. Now here's another card that also uses some rice paper, but this is more of the background. And this is actually the background sheet, which I've layered onto some pattern paper. And then I die cut it with the scalloped rectangles die set from hot off the press. Now I've spattered this with some watery opal polish and also inked around the edges with that French navy and then also with opal polish again. So similar to the first technique that we saw. Adds a little bit of shimmer and shine and creates some nice depth and dimension on there. And then my card focal is one of the die cuts. Again, another dazzle, script dazzle. They work so beautifully here. I've got a little bit of jute twine for some softness. And then for the card inside, again, more rice paper. This is from the 4 cards sheet. And some die cuts and more dazzles on here. All right, one more card I want to show you. This is my last owl card of the webisode, but certainly not my last one to make. I love what they've done with these images. So this piece is all one section of the owl's rice paper sheet. So it's actually an A4 size, and of course you can trim it down. So I've layered it onto white cardstock, let that dry, trimmed around it so that it was slightly smaller than my card front, and I inked around the outside edge with some slate gray ink. Then I wrapped the bottom portion with a little bit of jute twine, added a chipboard die cut here, and then also a little cutout element up here at the top. And that creates some nice balance, but it does let those owls act as the star and the focal element of the card. Then for the card inside, we have a mini envelope die cut. And you can see this right here. Now, this is great for tucking in some of the die cut elements. You could also easily put a little gift card in here as well, which is kind of what I was thinking, that this would make a really nice graduation card for someone who's graduating from university or high school would be a lot of fun. And of course, those owl images on there symbolize knowledge and learning, so it would just be perfect. Okay, now I've got one more project to show you that is not a card, so let me grab a few supplies and we can take a look. So this tag in a bag project is a great way to combine the papers and die cuts to create a special card. So you can see this is the bag portion, and then I can pull out my tag here. Now on my tag, I've even got a little pocket. Now this is from the mini envelopes die. So I'm combining the tag in a bag cutting dies with the mini envelopes and gift card holder. Now, of course, the mini envelope is what we saw on the previous card, so you can mix and match your dies as well. And of course, this turns out to be just a really sweet combination. Okay, let's take a look at how to do this. So I've got let's start with the bag here. I've got my paper already die cut, and you can see that this just die cuts perfectly with that 8x8 sheet. So you've got your die cut, you've also got your scored edges on here too. And all you need to do is just follow those scored lines and smooth them down. So here's the back, and then you can just fold up the bottom. And you can leave it as is, or you can ink around the outside edges before you secure everything down, which is what I like to do as well. And then you can decorate this however you want it to be. So that's with the bag, part of the tag in a bag. And then you've also got, of course, your tag. So I've die cut this from another piece. And then here's my little pocket that I've got on the tag. So again, you can see this here. I've got some elements tucked in there. I'll show you that. And this just, again, like the other one, just needs to be folded up like so. Of course, you can decide which side of the paper you want to use. Secure that down, pop it on top, and you've got something that is just perfect for your bag. Okay, let me move these aside and we'll take another look at what we've got going on here. So inside the pocket, I have one of the book plate, or I guess it could be a bookmark as well, cutouts from the 8x8 set. I just love this little image here. And then I also have a chipboard die cut. And I added one of the dazzles from the Tiny Words and Phrases dazzle sheet. So I thought that was a lot of fun, just to tuck right inside. And again, a gift card would also fit in here too. Got a little bit of jute twine up at the top. And then for the bag, I've got a die cut, a cutout from the 8x8 sheet, and another cutout here. This one is popped up on some foam tape for a little bit of dimension. And again, another one of the dazzles here. Everything is inked, and that gives an extra bit of dimension. And then you can just tuck this right inside to have a really fun little project. Quick and easy to do, and of course all of the elements come together so beautifully. So that is our last project for the day today. I hope you found the Alchemy collection just as much fun as I did. I really had quite a blast with this. Thank you so much to our friends at Stamperia, and a big thank you to you for joining me today. We're really glad that you're here, and we're so happy you're part of the Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. Be sure to see the money saver on the right side of your screen at paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, just have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisode page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.